Happy Thursday, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kane, and it's time for our daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by See-Through Group, Merlin Law Group, American Contractor Show, as well as Atlas Roofing. Thank you guys for sponsoring our videos. So let's get right into our weather headlines. We do have some severe weather pretty much on the marginal side possible today in the northeast as well as in parts of Montana and northern Wyoming, so we'll talk about that. And then getting into tomorrow, as of right now, it looks like it's going to be pretty quiet. No severe weather is expected at this time for tomorrow. And then we'll get into the tropics, where it's once again starting to get a bit more active out there. We'll take a look at the storms that are currently ongoing, as well as any future development, including one that we need to continue to watch as it could eventually head towards our way. So before we get into the forecast, we do have a few events coming up. The first one is this Saturday down in Norman at the University of Oklahoma. It is our home tailgate. If you guys don't know, we tailgate at all of the home games at the University of Oklahoma. And this Saturday it is OU versus Kansas State. The tailgate will begin at 3 p.m. and the game will kick off at 7. So make sure you come on down. We have free food, free beer. We have the TVs playing with the games on them. They're always a good time, so make sure you come on down for that. And then the next thing that we have going on will be down in Fort Worth on the 27th through the 29th. This is the RCAT MRCA Roofing Conference at the Fort Worth Convention Center. So if you're coming to that conference, make sure you come on by and say hi to Hail Trace, as we'll be at that show. Well, we are finally officially in fall. Today is the first day of the fall season, whether Mother Nature likes it or not. So happy fall to everyone out there. And I thought this would be kind of cool. This is what the colors should kind of be looking like right now across the U.S. This is courtesy of SmokyMountains.com. So I set it to basically for today. The colors should already be getting near peak to at peak in the northern parts of the U.S. So the northern parts of Michigan, northern parts of Minnesota, as well as into parts of the Rocky Mountains from Montana down to Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado, as well as parts of the Appalachians into the northeast, where we're starting to see some more colors starting to develop out there. So now we are going to get into yesterday's storm reports. We did see some activity with that cold front yesterday. And we're going to zoom right into the northeast first. Some scattered wind reports here. No severe hail happened. I guess there just wasn't enough instability for that hail to happen later on in the afternoon. We did have some hail earlier this morning in New Hampshire, and then we had swath of wind reports out in Idaho, as well as parts of northern Utah into northwestern Colorado. So here are current conditions across the lower 48. We have this cold front that is continuing to push off to the east here, basically from it's just to the west of Philadelphia. It's just to the west of Boston as well. And this cold front stretches all the way down into the south and then to the west. So we're going to zoom on in here first. Nothing severe at this time, just a lot of heavy rain and some embedded thunderstorms. Again, nothing severe at this time. Boston, you're getting in on the action right now with those heavier rains. And we're going to zoom a little bit further to the southwest, where we have a few storms trying to fire up here in parts of north central Virginia. And then going out into the northwest, we have a low pressure system situated in northwestern parts of Montana. And this area we will be watching this afternoon and evening for some sporadic severe storm activity. So zooming back out to take a look at our current temperatures, you can very clearly see where that cold front is. A very sharp difference in temperatures here. 92 currently in Atlanta. You go up behind that front, it's only 62 in Fort Wayne as well as Kansas City. So a lot cooler air behind this system. Still really warm though as we go south of that front, with 90 stretching across the southeast. So speaking of those cooler temperatures, you can see here within the last 24 hours, a lot of the central and into the northeastern parts of the U.S. has seen a change in temperatures between 10 to 20 degrees cooler right now compared to this time yesterday. And that will continue to push off to the east as we get into today. So more cooler weather is expected in the northeast. In terms of our dew points, as expected with a cold front, it is a lot drier, a lot more comfortable behind that system, with only a 41 degree dew point in Chicago, 50 in St. Louis. You go south of that cold front, there is still some moisture available, where we have a 67 degree dew point in Atlanta as well as in Boston. So it's a little sticky down there ahead of that cold front. So here is our instability for today. So we have two areas that we're going to be watching. We have that chilling cold front in the northeast, and you can see by 1 p.m. we really don't have a lot of instability left, as that cold front is going to be pushing off the coast into the Atlantic. But we need to keep an eye on areas such as Virginia down into North Carolina, where we are seeing some Cape value. So that will be providing that fuel for any storms this afternoon. And then we have some more instability trying to bubble up here in the northwest and Montana and into northern Wyoming as we get into this afternoon. This is at 5 p.m. Central Time. You can see there is a little area of instability in the Billings area down into parts of northern Wyoming. So that's one area, and then you can see those values start to drop off as we get to this is 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Virginia, you should start to clear out a bit, but we still have some instability in eastern North Carolina. And then as we get into later on this evening into tonight, you can see we lose that instability. So the chances for that severe weather will be this afternoon and evening, and tonight should be fine, at least in terms of severe weather stuff. So here is our future radar. Like we saw in the current radar, Boston, you are seeing those heavier rains right now. So this model's agreeing pretty well today. A lot of heavy rain and some thunderstorm activity in the northeast. This will continue to push off the eastern coast as we get into the next hour or two. So some improvement should be seen there in the northeast, and then getting down with that trailing cold front down into Virginia and down into North Carolina. We are expecting a few storms to fire up between 3-4 p.m. Eastern Time. That trailing cold front goes all the way down to North Carolina. That will cross through the Raleigh area as we get into this afternoon, and again this evening into the overnight looks fine for you guys. Now getting out into the northwest, we again have that low pressure system situated in northwestern Montana. We do have some showers going on right now. As we get into the next hour or two, with that heating and the instability starting to build up, we will start to see some isolated storms fire from around the Billings area down to Sheridan, and that will continue to push off to the east as we get into this evening. This is 6 p.m. Central Time. So this is 7 p.m. Mountain Time. You can see some isolated storms trying to fire here. A mixed mode cells as well as some linear modes here. So both hail and wind will be possible in this area. And then it'll push off into the Dakotas as we get into the overnight and dwindle to just a few showers here and there. So let's break it all down with today's hail forecast. Again, we have two areas that we're going to be watching. The first one is going to be here in parts of Virginia as well as down into North Carolina. I'm not expecting any large hail today, maybe $0.25 size at the largest, and it's going to be very spotty. So again, from Richmond, Virginia, all the way down to Raleigh, you guys can see up to $0.5 size there. And then we have another area out west, Billings down to Sheridan. We can see quarter to $0.5 size hail for any storms that do reach severe limits out there. Now in terms of wind, almost the same in terms of area coverage. The wind is a little bit further north as we have that trailing cold front. Boston, you're dealing with those the heavier rain and rumble thunder right now. So within the next hour or two, your chances will pretty much drop off. Same deal with New York City, but as we get into later on this afternoon, we still have those chances to see up to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts from Richmond down to Raleigh, North Carolina. So this will be, again, along and ahead of that cold front, and once it passes on through, your chances of severe weather will be done. And then we have another area out west, again, from Billings down to Sheridan, up to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are possible there for any storms that develop. Now, getting into tomorrow, like I said at the beginning of the forecast, we are not expecting anything in terms of severe hail or wind. We just don't have a whole lot of instability for tomorrow. But let's check in on our jet stream to see if there's anything else to watch. So here is that trough that's bringing that severe weather in the northeast, as well as what will be responsible for any future development down into Virginia and North Carolina. And there's, again, a lot of cooler air behind this system. And then we have that low pressure in the northwest as we get into later on this afternoon and then into tomorrow. That trough will push off into the Atlantic, so it's going to be a lot cooler and a lot drier tomorrow here in the northeast. Some more cool air coming in with that Montana system for the northern plains and then getting into the Great Lakes region, and this will continue to push off to the east as we get into our weekend. So it's going to be a lot cooler here as we get into the next few days. I know it's going to be very welcome for you guys. And then as we get into the beginning of, or the end of our Sunday, and then getting into the beginning on Monday, you can see that trough that is currently in Montana will continue to deepen, and a lot cooler air will set in the northeast. And you can even see those cooler colors, or I guess not as hot colors here in the south part of the U.S. So it's going to start cooling down here for us here in the central and southern plains, as well as we begin our week next week. So let's check in on the tropics. The first thing to check in is Hurricane Fiona. She's continuing to churn here in the Atlantic, not really affecting anyone except for any, fish or any kind of water, life. But very well-defined storm. We have that eye here, so a very organized hurricane. She's still a major hurricane as well. So where is Fiona going? Well, this system will continue to push off to the northeast. Fiona is still expected to be a major hurricane as we get into tomorrow morning, and then getting into Friday night, still a major hurricane, and then she's going to continue to move off to the north and get into the Nova Scotia area of Canada as we get into our Saturday morning. Now checking in on Gaston, again, basically not hitting anything, just spinning out there in the Atlantic. A pretty strong tropical storm. It's not going to reach hurricane status. 65 miles per hour are his current winds, and he's going to continue to move off to the east as we get into the next day, and then kind of just stall out and just will be spinning there and not really doing a whole lot. So that is Tropical Storm Gaston. And now here is the disturbance that we have been watching the last few days in the Caribbean. Still nothing in terms of, it's not a depression yet or anything. It's just a disturbance. I want to make sure I state that very clearly. It's just something that we're going to continue to watch. Now, as we get into the next few days, this system is expected to develop into a storm, but again, it's nothing yet. But if it does become a storm, it will move off into the Caribbean and to the northwest. So this is by Monday. You can see it's pretty good in terms of agreement, but after we get through this weekend and into the beginning of next week, you can see the models are everywhere in terms of where this system may go. So again, it's nothing named yet. It's something that we'll be watching, and we just got to take it day by day, you guys. So that is that disturbance. What else is out there that we may watch? Well, first, here is that system that we are watching. Within the next 2 days, it still has a 70% chance to develop into a storm, and the next 5 days, a 90% chance. So this will eventually, most likely, become a named system, but it's not even a depression or anything yet, just a disturbance. Here is another one, same area as yesterday, and basically the same percentages, only a 20% that this will develop into something within the next 2 days and 30% within the next 5. And then lastly, this has increased a little bit in terms of the chances of development. It's going to have a 60% chance within the next 2 days as well as within the next 5. So this may become a named storm eventually as well, but it doesn't look like it's going to be heading our way, at least not at this time. It's just going to be staying out in the Atlantic. So let's check in our names. Again, the next storm that will develop will get the name of Hermine, and that will most likely be the one that we are watching very carefully. After that, it'll be Ian, Julia, and then Carl, and then here are the other names for the Atlantic storms. So that's all that I have for you today. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, as well as our TikTok page. You don't want to miss any updates. And then if you have any questions, concerns, or if you just want to say hi, you can give us a call at 855-334-4245. You can email us at info@hilltrace.com and check out our website at www.hilltrace.com. And I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you all have a great rest of your Thursday.